There's some common advice that is typically thrown around in all types of business circles, saying that an employee or a worker should always say yes to every single opportunity that comes their way, regardless of whether or not they actually know how to do the thing that they are saying yes to. And this type of advice can often be applied to the music business too. And I've heard people say this many times, that composers should never turn down any opportunity if a library comes to them requesting a certain style of music. That they should always say yes, because you have no idea if that might be your last opportunity with them, or if you land the gig, how much money you might make from sync fees, or where these opportunities will take you into the future. And so people will tell you to say yes to every music request that comes your way. And I am here today to give you a little viewpoint from the opposite side of that fence and tell you why you may be doing a huge disservice to your career by saying yes to things that you should say no to. Hello rock stars, Matt Vanderbo here, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about why the word no can be such a powerful word for you to use when it comes to opportunities being presented to you. And this may seem completely counterintuitive, that by turning down projects, we actually do ourselves a favor in the long term. But in this video, I'm going to explain how that works and maybe some of the psychology behind it as well, and hopefully give you some more food for thought as you get to the point where requests are coming into you to make music for TV shows and fill up libraries and things like that. Okay, so let's start off with a couple of hypothetical situations. In the first situation, let's pretend that a music library comes to you on a Thursday afternoon and they say, hey, we've got a project, it's a video or a commercial with a $5,000 sync fee, but we need a vocal pop song that sounds like Bruno Mars' Uptown Funk. And you see the $5,000 and you say to yourself, well, I've made a lot of pop music. Sure, I'll do that. Okay, it's Thursday afternoon. You got till Monday morning. So you basically just have the weekend to turn around the song. But let me present some hurdles that may show up in this situation. Okay, number one, even though you might be a great music producer and songwriter, you might not be a good vocalist. And if you want to make a song that sounds like it rivals Bruno Mars, then you need the best of the best singing vocals on your track. And sometimes people just don't know the best of the best. Or if you do know someone who is really good and can pull that off, there's still a waiting game, because you've got to make the music and give it to them and then wait around while they make their vocals and get them back to you. And time can really be stacked against you, even if you are really good at this style. Or perhaps this style of music is slightly just out of your realm of pop production, and creating it is just going to be a very slow, tedious process for you. And there's just really not a whole lot of hope that you get that song done by Monday. So what happens when Sunday night rolls around and you've got this piece of music that is due to the library owner at 8 a.m. the next morning? Well, you've got two options at this point. You either send them a last-second email that says, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to make the music that I promised you I would make, or you slap something together at the 11th hour that is just of such poor quality that nobody in their right mind would even consider it for more than 20 seconds before throwing it away and moving on to the next piece. In both of those instances, you have wasted a heck of a lot of people's time, and there's nothing more frustrating than having your time being wasted when it's not on your own terms. Like, I mean, if we're wasting time on our own, that's one thing, but if we're wasting other people's time, this is a big deal, especially if it's a library owner who is now counting on you to supply something that they can get in on a deadline. Then maybe they were hoping that they'd get a piece of that money too. And now the payday for everybody is just gone in a puff of smoke. Just not good at all. And before you start saying, well, this hypothetical will never happen, like who really reaches out on a Thursday looking for a top 10 sounding pop song by Monday? You would be surprised at the amount of requests I get with these types of turnarounds. And this game at this level is very tight, it's very fast, and everything is expected to sound like it belongs on the top 10 of the Billboard charts, and it has to be ripped through very, very quickly. So this is a very common situation. But if that's too much for you, let's take hypothetical number 2. And this is when a music library comes to you with kind of a more generic request, and they might say to you, hey, we need a bunch of future pop cues, instrumental cues, and we need as much as you can get to us by a week from now. Now, cues are a lot easier and faster to put together than vocal songs because there's no vocal element. And if you are a great future pop producer, then I mean, this is the stuff that your dreams are made of, getting a request like this. But let's say you have no idea what future pop music is or what it sounds like, and you say yes to that request anyway. Well, first of all, you're going to spend a lot of time researching the style of music to see what the heck it even is, but then you'll probably discover that there's a lot of virtual instruments and synths that are required for that sound that you don't own. So now you're $100, $200 deep on some new synths, and there's still a huge learning curve. So you've got to figure out like what the standard practices and production techniques are for this style of music. And as we all know, anytime we do a new genre for the first time, our first couple of tracks are typically nothing more than train wrecks. And so a week is going to go by, and maybe at the end of that week, you've got 2 or 3 tracks, and they really don't sound like future pop music because you really didn't even know what future pop was. Meanwhile, someone else who lives and breathes in this genre of music has come from over here and made 12 to 15 tracks within that week, and they've given all those to the music library, and they sound incredible. So much so that when your music is played right afterwards, you sound like the world's biggest fool because your music just does not hold up to someone who actually can do it the right way. So in both of these situations, we have a composer who said yes to everything and then failed to deliver anything that was very good. And what that really does, aside from wasting people's times, is it jeopardizes your reputation and the longevity of your future career. Meaning that if you said yes to an opportunity and turned in garbage or flaked out completely, you are much less likely to get those calls in the future. So now let's talk about the psychology of why people insist that you should always say yes to every opportunity. What is really driving that mentality? I am no psychologist, but if I had to guess, I would guess that this is a response built from fear. And no, I'm not talking about you're scared of making the music, not that kind of fear. I'm talking about fear of losing future opportunities by saying no. I really think what goes on in people's heads is they think, well, if I turn down this request, then I'll never get asked for music again from this company. So I have to say yes now so that they know I can come through in the clutch. But in an odd twist of fate, that fear of losing out on future opportunities, which drives people to say yes, it can result in loss of future opportunities if the product that you deliver is bad. So in these situations, I believe that it is far better to just be honest with the music libraries and tell them, no, I can't do it this time. I may be able to next time, so please reach out in the future. But just so you know, I'm not really familiar with what future pop music is, and I don't want to spend the little time that I do have making music that is so far off the mark that you're going to laugh me out of existence when you hear it. So being honest and saying no to certain requests can often build a sense of trust within a relationship between you and the library because they know that you're going to be honest when you can't do something and you're respectful enough not to waste people's time in the process. Plus, this can be a great conversation opener for you to talk about what your real strengths really are. If we go back to that example about making a uptown funk style of song, you could tell the library, hey, that's really not where my forte in this music world is. But if you ever have need for epic rap, I know you may know me as the dramedy guy, but epic rap is really where I shine in the vocal world. Then those types of things can start this conversation that leads to a greater understanding of what your strengths really are. So in the future, the music library can be much more selective about which requests they give you. So these conversations are really great and beneficial in not only allowing the music library owner to get to know you as a musician better, but it can open the door to just random relationship type conversation where you get to know the person on a human level, not just on a business level. And that stuff pays dividends far into the future. So the only caveat I will tell you when it comes to saying no to requests, if and when this does happen to present itself, is that your no should be delivered very, very quickly. You should not leave somebody hanging. You ideally want to tell them within hours of them sending you that initial message, just so that they know that they're not going to wait on something that's not going to come through in the end. So saying no in a timely fashion prevents you from looking like a flake, and it also opens the door for future conversation, and it really kills off the chances that you position yourself in a very bad light when you need to be presenting yourself in the absolutely best light. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense, you guys. Saying yes is not always the best course of action. So now we're gonna finish this video with a joke from the old Dad Joke 3000 button. Come on, baby.
Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing.
Enough said. All right, talk to you rock stars later. Toodles.